Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin. Check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. On this video, I decided instead of exploring the possible scenarios, whether they're actually going to happen or not, as it pertains to conference realignment, whether it's the ACC, the Big 12, or the Pac-12, because we all know that the Big 10 and the SEC, they're safe. They're good to go. They're going to last forever. They're going to last as long as college football lasts, right? But over the past year and a half, I've looked at every possible scenario that I could think of that these conferences could do when it pertains to the ACC, Big 12, Pac-12 to remain a power conference. I'm sure there's still some scenarios that I haven't explored yet, but trust me, I will get to them. But today's video is much more simple than that. It's the do's and don'ts that I think the Big 12, the ACC, and the Pac-12 should either pursue or avoid if they want to survive. That's it. So remember, this is not a prediction. I am not predicting this to happen. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. First up, the Pac-12. What I think the Pac-12 should try to do. First of all, you got to at least try to go after Texas Tech from the Big 12, along with Rice. That would give you a solid footprint in the state of Texas. Rice has great academics. I know their football program isn't amazing, but I think they would be a nice partner with Texas Tech to give the Pac-12 a strong footprint in the state of Texas. I think both of these universities would be a great fit academically, and Texas Tech would bring a lot of money. After that, I think the Pac-12 should try to fill the Southern Cal void left by USC and UCLA by adding San Diego State and Fresno State, which they might actually do. And on top of that, also adding Boise State and Colorado State. I don't think that's a bad idea. I really don't. Boise State actually has a good football brand. They have good TV viewership, a big fan base, and Colorado State would lock down the Colorado State rivalry, which would actually make Colorado more valuable to the Pac-12. Also, another thing that I don't think is a bad idea, try to go after Kansas. That would be a big get for the Pac-12. Kansas has a great fan base whenever it comes to basketball, and they would bring the Pac-12 money. I don't know if Kansas is attainable. I don't know if Texas Tech is attainable, but you have to at least try. Start taking chances, Pac-12, if you want to survive. Now, time for the don'ts. Don't do these things, Pac-12. First of all, stop acting like you're a conference that's worth billions of dollars in TV revenue. You're not. When I heard that the Pac-12 said that they wanted a $1.5 billion TV deal through ESPN, I about fell out my seat. That's ridiculous. Stop thinking that. You're not. On top of that, stop doing nothing. If you sit there and do nothing, you're going to go extinct. Stop doing nothing, Pac-12. Now, while I mentioned some teams that you probably should go after earlier, the teams that you should avoid are the other teams in the Mountain West. UNLV, Nevada, Utah State, San Jose State, Air Force, New Mexico, Hawaii, Wyoming. That would be stupid if you went after any of those brands. They actually don't add any type of value to the Pac-12. In fact, it would just create more pieces of the pie instead of adding to the pie. So avoid those teams from the Mountain West. On to the Big 12. The do's for the Big 12. I think you should try to go after ACC teams, such as Pitt, Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia Tech, NC State, and even Georgia Tech. And I know that argument hits the brick wall of the grant of rights, but hey, if you have disgruntled teams like, I don't know, Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Miami that are willing to vote to dissolve the ACC and break the grant of rights, maybe the Big 12 can convince these other teams to do so as well. That way the majority of those 8 teams needed to vote to dissolve the ACC and break the grant of rights is easily attainable, and you're getting some good brands that would help strengthen the Big 12. The Big 12 desperately needs to strengthen the east side of the conference. You go after those specific teams, even though they're not the best brands in the ACC, they bring specific value to the Big 12 because of the rivalries involved. Those rivalries between all those teams, and then add in West Virginia and Cincinnati, that's going to make some money for the Big 12. On top of that, I think going after Memphis is actually a good thing. I think they are the best brand available in the Group of 5 conference. And also, adding Boise State might be worth considering. Memphis is definitely a better brand and would make more money for the Big 12. Maybe Boise State is worth considering. And now the don'ts for the Big 12. Well, first off, the Four Corners idea seems like a good idea. It seems like a good idea. But I'm not so sure about that. And that's because most of the TV viewership for college football, around 80%, comes from the states of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and eastward of those states. So once you go west of those states, you're only getting about 20% of the viewership of college football. And most of that comes out of the city of Los Angeles. Something to keep in mind. However, if your mind is made up about the Four Corners edition, then honestly, I'd take Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and either Oregon State or Washington State over Colorado. Those two teams actually get better TV viewership than Colorado. So yeah, the idea of the Four Corners seems like a great idea. It's a great sales pitch, but Colorado really doesn't add that much value. I actually think that Oregon State and Washington State would add more value, along with Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, over Colorado. Going back to what I mentioned earlier, I'm okay with Memphis and Boise State. But after that, no more Group of 5 teams. If you keep going after Group of 5 teams, you'll end up turning into a Group of 5 conference. So I would say that Memphis and Boise State would be the absolute limit for the Big 12. And of course, the last thing, don't do nothing. Do something. Pursue some of these avenues. Otherwise, just like the Pac-12, you're going to end up extinct, or at least a Group of 5 conference. And finally, the ACC. The dues for the ACC. Get ESPN back to the negotiating table and get a better TV deal. I think now that the ACC has a decent provider for the ACC network, it's actually worth more money than when this deal was made. And ESPN knows this. You actually do have some leverage on ESPN. You just don't realize it, I guess. Now, of course, the big thing is try to get Notre Dame in as a full-time football member. But if you can't, stop kissing their rear end. All right, just stop. And on top of that, I would actually cut them loose. Hey, if they want to stick around and play some games, fine, whatever. But they get no piece of the pie, and they don't get any special privileges. And Notre Dame's a big brand, but you're better than that, ACC. Stop looking like a little punk. Now, on top of that, if you can bring in Notre Dame, then bring in West Virginia with Notre Dame. West Virginia brings their own value, and then they would raise the value of their rivalries already in the ACC. I'm talking about Syracuse, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Louisville, maybe Boston College, maybe Miami. So they bring in their value and they raise the value that you already have. Now, if you can't bring in Notre Dame, then bring in Oklahoma State or Cincinnati and West Virginia. Oklahoma State is big time moneymaker. They're worth pursuing. And of course, West Virginia adds value and raises the value of some teams that are already in the conference. I'll say this, keep your eyes on Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Miami. They might be trying to get enough votes to dissolve the ACC and break the grant of rights. Have a backup plan just in case. That backup plan might be raiding the Big 12. Now, the don'ts for the ACC. Stop focusing on basketball. And why do I say that? Jim Phillips said it straight up in a press conference. Focus on football. That's what makes you money. That's what's going to get you a better TV deal. On top of that, stop doing nothing. You need to do something to help your brand and your value. Don't start raiding Group of 5 conferences. That's a bad idea. It doesn't help you at all. Going back to what I said about Notre Dame, stop kissing Notre Dame's rear end. It comes off as desperate. So y'all let me know in the comment section what you think about the do's and the don'ts for the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. Did I leave anything out for all the do's? And did I leave anything out for all the don'ts? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.